Stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Monday, the second day of February 2025. Jesus Christ. Really? 2026. Franklin.
It's good for you.
I can't believe that happened. No. We're not going back to that year. No, we're not going back to that year. It is the second day of February 2026. And just like that, we are out of the long January, the economic situation at your end. Good morning to you and welcome to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Hebuka is here. Good morning, Franklin.
Hi, good morning, Chisom, and good morning to everyone listening to us. And of course, it's a beautiful morning, the very first edition of the Polity in the month of February, the month of love, for those who want to love. Okay, so we're glad to be here. And of course, today tends to be exciting because lots of things in the offing, especially given the fact that Anambra is supposed to waiting for good business, let me put it that way, good business on Monday. So given the fact that the governor has given the marching order that all the markets in Anambra should begin to do business on Mondays. And interestingly, the market Onitsha happens to be where the signage of all eyes is. And this very one, of course, we're getting some feeds. By the time we get into the message, of course, there are other things that we observed this very morning while coming to the office, so we're going to point them out to see how that can help us in making a decision whether to oblige or not.
Absolutely. Dr. Tony Olusambeki is here to do justice to all of the matters on our desk. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom Chinede. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Anambra. Good morning, Indonesia. Good morning, Nde Osumo. Good morning, the Onitsha main market. Of course, we know very well that there's so much to expect today as far as that market is concerned. And good morning, everyone, under the reach of our voice. It's a very beautiful Monday morning, today being the second day in the month of February, in the year 2026. We thank everyone for being part of this show. I know many of you have been waiting to join. The conversation is going to be very critical and it's going to be very direct, and we pray that fruitful outcome will come out of it. We thank God Almighty for His mercy and for His forgiveness, for everything He has done for us, for making us to witness this very day. And we saw the presence of security personnel while coming this very place. I saw different APC, armored personnel carriers. I saw many. One at Boromi roundabout, the other one at TM just roundabout, and we saw presence of security. And for those who have gone to Market, they are also reporting that there are such presence everywhere. So we're going to talk about some of these developments and then see what we can make out of them. You are welcome.
Absolutely. We're going to first tell you what the papers say, and then we get into the conversation proper. On our desk this morning, we have the Vanguard newspaper, we have the Guardian, we have This Day, and of course, we have the Punch newspapers. And we are starting with the Vanguard. The banner headline here is Businesses buckle under debt as defaults push back bad loans to 21.2 trillion naira. Businesses buckle under debt as defaults push bad loans to 21.2 trillion naira. This story is on page 20. And the riders in good 2027 polls, fear of postponement looms. Also, and that's an entirely different story now. 2027 polls, fear of postponement looms over delayed electoral law. That's on page 5. Sanwo-Olu to youth, participate in politics before it's too late. On page 10. And I've been asking myself, how would young people participate in politics in a country where politics is heavily capital intensive? I mean, Ebonyi State is a very quick case study. A local government election. You have forms sold for 30 million naira. How much does the average hard-working Nigerian earn to have 30 million naira on the side to just buy a ticket? We're not talking about election prosecution proper. Also, Osun Assembly vows to recover all diverted local government funds on page 26. And again, you'd see a story on again, bandits storm Niger community, raise police station, church, abduct villagers. On page 9, it has a rider, 80 Kajuru worshippers escape as bandits, hold 86 in captivity. Ondo, Ogun, governors clash over all well on Eba Island. On page 10, Gale of the factions, why Nigeria's democracy is not working. That's from Ibrahim Gambari on page 14. Ondo's profit up 10% to 241.3 billion naira as upstream production rises 32% in 2025. Find that story on page 26 of the Vanguard newspaper.
Okay, so over to the Guardian, and the big story here says Nigerians turn to survivor businesses as former jobs thrive. The story is on page 6. If you look at the front page, you see a chart showing the distribution. Then above the nameplate, or rather beneath the nameplate, will be Port Tinubu on multiple foreign trips, 2027 agenda. The story is on page 3. Tinubu's reforms saved 27 states from collapse, says Minister. The story is on page 3 of The Guardian. House defense delay in passage of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. That story can also be found on page 3 of The Guardian newspaper. Reactivate standby force against Sahel threats. Tinubu tells ECOWAS. The story is on page 3. Header asks US to sanction Nigerians linked to security funds diversion. That story is on page 5. 2027, Atiku holds talks with ADP leaders amid Obi Kwankwaso alliance rumor. That story is on page 6. Terrorists raise church, police station in Niger. You can see the story on page 9 of The Guardian. Osun Assembly vows to recover diverted local government funds. The story is on page 7. This one says anxiety as Ludo reopens on Onitsha market. The story is on page 8. Investors, farmers lament as agri sector loses 5 trillion naira in 2 years. The story is on page 3. Or rather, it has to be page 8. And then the last story on the front page of The Guardian says Owando announces 32% production growth, 3.2 trillion naira revenue in 2026. That story is on page 9 of The Guardian.
Alright then, from the Guardian newspaper, let's go over to the Punch, and the banner headline here is Travels. Presidency spends 34 billion naira on Forex in 2 years. That's on page 2. The rider here, foreign trips, aircraft maintenance costs fall as FX purchases plunged 83% in 2025. Also, coup, I was marked for arrest, assassination, defense minister on page 16. Defense headquarters face heat as military personnel bypass airport checks on page 2. Health workers strike, grounds hospitals on page 8. And Osun Assembly APC chairman clash over LG funds on page 8. Makoko demolitions, Lagos Assembly to meet community leaders Tuesday on page 5. Rwanda records 3.2 trillion naira revenue amid oil production surge. That's on page 36 of the Punch newspaper.
Then, over to the newspaper, we have a couple of headlines here. The first one says Dangote NNPC seals strategic gas agreements to aid African conglomerates expansion drive. That headline says coup attempt was targeted for elimination, says defense minister. And we have some riders here, says Interpol after civilian suspect on the run. Discloses Nigeria security pact with Turkey not to spite US. I am in political transition to join APC soon, says CDS. Another headline here is 2025 unaudited result. Owando post 32% output growth, records 32 or rather 3.2 trillion revenue. This story is on page 7. And above the nameplate here says World Bank's Nigeria portfolio hits $16 billion amid effort to accelerate growth, job creation. That's the story on the page 5 of this newspaper.
All right, then we're starting the conversation proper. And before we go over to, or maybe let's start with Anambra State. Franklin, I was going to ask you about that incident that happened over the weekend, the Christian artist who died from a snake bite. Because according to reports, they couldn't access venom, anti-poison to, attack the venom the snake had already ingested in her body system in some hospitals in Abuja, and eventually she died.
Of course, it was quite a sad story because when that story developed on Saturday, I think I came on social media late Saturday, and I was getting some snippets. People were speaking in innuendos and parables. Her identity was yet to be fully disclosed, but later the story came out that it was Itunanya, one guy actually who was, who died as a result of bite by snake. And the story had it that two snakes found their way into her apartment while she was sleeping, and she got bitten by the snake, and she went to the hospital by herself. They got to the hospital about 1 year according to the report. At the end of the day, she succumbed to the venom depositing her body by the snake. And so social media went on fire, people claiming that it was negligence from the part of hospital didn't have anti-venom or what have you not. But later FMC has come out to clear, FMC in Abuja, saying that story was incorrect, that this hospital did what it's supposed to do, that the anti-venom was there available, everything was administered, but they were making an effort to send her to another hospital to send her to ICU before her situation deteriorated. And of course, different stories we have heard, but the whole truth is that what happened to her is like an experience that people do experience. It's something that people do experience from time to time based on where you are located. I can't forget the experience that this person shared one time, former MD of ABS, Uchenwara. Yes, that was the experience he shared. That was last year. A cobra that was found in her apartment in Abuja, and he gave a story of how he brought some people to do communication after his snake was sighted, and lo and behold, a big cobra was found in another apartment. So since that incident happened, I think where the bottom line lies is solutions that people have been preparing. Because for me, I'm not going to dwell on whether to blame the hospital or not, because as it stands now, I cannot independently verify whether the antivenom was available or not. Hospital has spoken, and the other side has also spoken. So it's neither here nor there. I am not to believe any one of them. So where I'm dwelling is, things people can actually do in terms of safety, especially if you live in an area where or areas prone to snake. And there's also this very discussion that has developed from that incident. People have been asking questions whether snake bites are treated in hospital or you find personal way of doing that. And I think at this point in time, this is where we have to deepen the conversation. Whether you're going to use personal means of doing that, or whether you're going to use hospital or use hospital the orthodox medicine, I think they're all the same. Whether we're loading money, Orodo Manu or Walewu Manu, they are all the same. Yeah, he talk about it. What we're looking for is solution. If people find themselves in such a situation, what can they do to, help to survive? And we know that cobra is very, the venom from cobra is quite poisonous. So it's quite a sad one that we lost her to this sad incident. But at the same time, we're asking people to take all precautionary measures they can take to ensure that they keep the apartment safe. This time around, we have seen that in Abuja, Abuja, from what I understand about Abuja has this central sewage system, and from what we gathered, snakes always find their way through that very, through the pipes and make entry into people's houses. And that this recommendation people have put out, that's one valve people are talking about now.
The no-return valve?
Exactly.
That clamps back after anything
Exactly.
exits.
So people are now making recommendations that if you live in areas that are prone to snake, of course you can use to, get plumbers, buy that no-return valve, and ask them to fix it for you so that if you're in a toilet, once sewage passes, it will clamp back. Of course, no dangerous animal or reptile will be able to fall back into your apartment. So people can do a whole lot to keep themselves safe.
And also, there are, like I said, a whole lot. People have also suggested ways of constantly fumigating your area. Now, this is not just about people who live in Abuja or reptile-prone areas. People who live in bushy areas, in developing communities, developing estates. This is something that a lot of persons need to take seriously. And I don't know what the cost of the non-return valve is, but maybe landlords should also start looking at making it an integral part of the plumbing system in modern houses. Because, who knows what could happen in the future?
Exactly. I also had someone else because as this thing happened, some other persons have been sharing the experience. Somebody shared her experience in the Enugu where she was living. Snake also made its way into her apartment. In fact, she said she was sleeping and she felt some kind of cold on her body, only for her to wake up and find out it was snake that crawled on her body. And not just any kind of snake, the cobra. So the thing is this, anything you can do to ensure that you stay safe. And I must say this, we should find a way of making fumigation, a regular thing, especially if you live in this area that you like you mentioned, or if you even live in some rocky areas. If you go to some rocky areas, you become prone to scorpions and the likes. So all those dangerous animals that can inflict things, that can inflict poison into your body, you have to make a effort to ensure that this is that we get against this. I'll give you an instance. What happened to us when we were in school? Then that day I just went to school and came back. As I just opened my door, I heard some kind of crawling sound inside my room. Then I was in carpet, so I became curious. I had to take it attention long before it was snake that found its way into my room in school. Now guess what happened?
On the down floor?
Yes. So I was not asking myself, how did this happen? Only for me to go outside and saw that children came when I left and they punctured the net on my window. And the snake made its way from that very punctured part of the window into the apartment. So the thing is this, anything we can do, especially if you live downstairs, anything you can do to ensure that you get to guard yourself or protect yourself from, or protect your apartment from these reptiles finding their way. Living on how far much okay? In a sense, okay cannot be that dangerous, but you know that okay.
Lassa fever,
of course. So anything you can do to keep your apartment safe.
Just before we round up on this conversation, even if you live upstairs, I recall what I saw one time: a person who dropped a gas cylinder outside and didn't know that a reptile, because I don't really like to call the name of that creature, had found a way to insert itself under the gas cylinder, and then it just curled. Gas cylinders are cold, and those reptiles like cold environments. It went crawled, tied itself around the base beneath, and if this person hadn't checked, you will just simply carry this into your apartment by yourself. So when you keep things outside, please check them properly before taking them into your house. Because you could live upstairs and you'd say, okay, I don't stay in the down floor. It's not possible. But you could just unconsciously, help these things into your apartment. Dr. Tony Olisampeki, would you want to add something to that before we go over to main market?
I think the only thing I have to say is this, because we have seen the two sides argument and counter argument, and nobody has dropped any evidence. I have thought by now that the hospital should make certain evidence, not about issuing statement, We know the system in Nigeria is all about denial, trying to save your image, trying to save your reputation, trying to save one thing or the other. So their rebuttal is totally unacceptable by me. There should be some concrete facts, evidence that should be added to whatever rebuttal. If you said that you did this, you did that, is there any way you can provide evidence and ask people who would also want to verify to do such, and would also want autopsy to be conducted on the poor lady who, for one reason or the other, her life was lost in such situation. So it's not about, we can't just say it happened this, because none of us was there. The point is autopsy be conducted, and any rebuttal at this time, anybody trying to refute any claim, we are prima facie has been established. Not any claim anybody says it comes to repeat. No, the prima facie here is the case that the lady died and she was bitten by a snake and she was rushed to the hospital, and there was allegation that she was not attended to. There was no anti-venom vaccines or that could be administered on her. So at this point, that's prima facie. So the rebuttal should come with any evidence to support it. You don't just make a press statement. Press statements these days either to reboot or to a way of trying to put the record straight. These days should come with some level of evidence so to support whatever claim you're making.
All right.
Sorry, let's not forget. I got to see something that scared me about this whole 891 guy who was killed by a snake. I saw a post that was made by Anonymous on Facebook. Anonymous like giving her a warning, predicting that snakes are going to find their way into her house. In fact, the way I'm trying to find that thing where.
Was it real or just something cooked up after it had happened?
No, it has to date then, because the Anonymous had to post it then after it happened, recording what was posted sometime in the past, because that post was like a warning that there were some snakes in the pipe, that she had to do something to ensure that these snakes are killed. That if the snakes are not killed, they could find their way into the house, and this will happen. Maybe by the time once I get it, I will share it so that you'll be able to see, because people were also trying to read this meaning into what happened.
Yeah, some said they were projected
So once this certain thing happens, of course you are going to see this kind of different reaction. But like what I try to tell you is, if you look around you, once you see that there are chances that this thing can happen, then any element of spiritual attachment being put into it becomes dead on arrival.
Right then. So today is Monday, the 2nd of February 2026. Oh my God, what's with me and dates today? And the governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chikumosolugbo, sealed off Main Market for last week, because last week Monday people sat at home. They didn't open the market. And so today, it is expected that people open their different shops in the market. Schools have also been told to open. All is in a bid to put an end to the Monday sit at home that has been on since August 2021. And so we're going to be putting a call across to our correspondent, Ben Wara, who is in Main Market already, to see the situation of things. He's going to be telling us if the lines are open, if the shops are open. Yesterday, I boarded a bus coming from Oka to Onitsha, and a particular passenger who said he stays at Bridget, right? He said that today, our guys are going to send their apprentices to the shops. Unuga mepe shop, mozi anye na phone, wanye ka afiadi. Kaimalozi amanye wa agaputa. But the most important thing is that people are actually accepting gradually the idea of opening shops today. I also noticed that there is better security presence on the roads today, and there is improved human activities. There are more buses, there are more tricycles on the roads, there are more people on the roads coming from 3-3 to this part of the town today. So many things we get to look at today. We're going to call Ben. I also saw a report by the Guardian newspaper, and it started with fear gripping Anambra State, tension gripping Anambra State yesterday, as Governor Soludo ordered the reopening of markets today. And Tony, when I saw that report, I asked myself, where is the tension? Yesterday, people went about their businesses like nothing was, And today there is improved movement. So sometimes I ask myself, the reportage of the Anambra situation, the sit-at-home situation, do you think that it does something to lifting this mask off the faces of our people? I mean, the way that they paint gruesome pictures, they circulate old videos on social media. Do you think that it has been a clog in the wheel of putting an end to this?
Just like I said, I have been in conversations with a lot of people over this issue. And when I was coming out here, I saw security presence. And I have said many times, but people would always have their opinion. They are entitled to their opinion. But what I saw before this was propaganda being deployed. I remember propaganda is used to incite fear. And then this idea of using propaganda to incite fear is one of the oldest and most powerful tools of social control. Across different parts of the world and different eras, generations, times, centuries, the pattern is strikingly the same, strikingly similar. Remember, fear is manufactured, repeated, amplified until people begin to act against their own interests. That's how fear is served.
Even with renowned, prestigious outfits like the Guardian newspaper.
I'm just telling you, the most important thing, just I've said it many times. Journalism is all about investigation, hearing from different parties. Because I saw the question or the case we treated just now, the Ifranya Wangene, known popularly for her music prowess, architect by profession, from UNN and so many other things we know her for. The story mostly unbalanced. People reported from one side without also getting to hear from the Federal Medical Center, without showing balance. But just like I said, the reporter should be supported by evidence and so on. So there should be element of balance in everything we do. We don't amplify things just to chase clouds, because I understand most media houses, sorry to say this, they are chasing clouds. They want to report something that when they come on Facebook, they will have likes, comments, shares, and that gives them money. Likes, shares, comments, views. These things give them money. I think the most important one is the viewing part of it. Once you view any piece on social media, as the views increase, money, if the page is monetized, the person who may have created that very content has the money. So the point is, I'm just telling you something about fear. So I've said many times that when people are afraid, they stop reasoning. When they're afraid, they don't reason the way they ordinarily ought to have reasoned, and their reason, they start being awkward somehow. So it is important to understand that I've seen some of these things, and they use WhatsApp and social media as a platform for this propaganda we are talking about. And I've said many times that fear is most effective where institutions are weak. I have to let everybody know this. They are most effective where institutions are weak and trust is low and critical thinking is suppressed. We must, as in the Bible, there's one thing God really gifted us with as a people is critical thinking. We think critically. So I don't believe anything posted or anything ferried, brandished, and bandied around. I don't swallow it hook, line, and sinker. I don't, as a person. But we have also known that everybody might not really be the way you are. So in the context of men market on nature, just like we've seen so far, whatever some of the things I predicted still definitely is taking shape. There will be slow response to this, but over time the response will increase. If you had gone there around 7 a.m., you thought that it's going to be total shutdown. Around 7:30, you hardly see any vehicle or anything on the road. But around 8, people started coming out slowly. The response very slow. Around 9, you see people coming out slowly. Now we are still within that range of 9 to 10. So it's yet to, we are not, the time is not yet 10. So what I'm seeing is, I have seen people who have said that we are coming out to go and take attendance. That's Naga mark attendance. You know, that kind of thing, that the line chairman have said that they will open the attendance register for people to take attendance. And once they're done with attendance, some have said that they will go home. It is left to be seen. Most importantly is the shops are beginning to open. The shops are beginning to open, and have just gone out before coming here. The vehicle or the vehicular movements, they are increasing slowly. But around 7, 8, you may be thinking that it's going to be total shut down. That's what you'll be thinking. But we've seen developments after 7 and 8. Things are gradually coming up, gradually. And I think what is going on is those who are in the market already, we put a call across to those who are not, or those who have not been in the market, we call those who are in the market. Bros, what is going on? How far? How, we are doing this, we are doing that. Probably before you know it, they will start coming up. By 2, 3, we may also see another development, another shape. So, but the key thing is, government has issued a legitimate directive. You can contest the directive, you can be against the directive, but government, remember, have always said, after God, the next is government. But it's also good that government listens to the people. But where government, after every consideration and consultation, says this is what we want, you have 2 options, and that's just that. Now we're seeing a situation where some people are complying, even against that many may not have wanted to come. I saw a video making rounds where the Mbuka chairman was addressing the Mbuka people, and where he told them how Luche go back, something like that. I saw the video, and some of them were like, I am a mepe, and he told them very clear that immediately after my market, the next market of interest is in Bukobosi. He told them. So the need for them to play with caution, to be cautious. And he was very emphatic about this, because some of them that are saying, I am Monday. You saw what happened at different to, and you saw also what happened to main market as we speak now. They are open, though some shops are closed, but they are coming up gradually. See, government has taken a position on this, and before now the people have been saying it is insecurity, provide security. So those who are on that category, if you provide security, we are going to come out. Where are you? Because if you look around, security is provided. I saw security, I felt their presence. That is what. For those who believe that they will listen to fear, just like I've said earlier on, propaganda. Some of these things you see, I have said it, I want to challenge anybody. Some of these videos you see, majority of them are AI generated. AI generated. So the idea is to use it as a propaganda tool to instill fear, cause unrest, and make people not to respond to what government has declared. And for even IPOB, they have also dissociated a particular claim attached to them that they made a statement that there will be total lockdown. They said no, it's not coming from us. So it is those fifth columnists who are bent to do their own thing or to challenge government at this critical time.
Okay, so let me add, I'll begin with my observation this very morning coming to the office, because when I got to Brunei roundabout, of course I saw a truck of security station there. I think about 3D, aside the truck, there was 3D, 2 other vehicles. In that very thing you see police, police operatives, army, I don't remember what have you know. If you leave that Brunei roundabout, and you get to C90, you see another load of security stations there. Getting to GMGS2, you see APC, Armored Personnel Carrier, station there with some traders and what have you. So, and yesterday, I saw 3 helicopters here flying around the state, and even this very morning too. Some of them have been spotted. But guess what? Some persons said there was no security, that they need security present for them to come out. And guess what? This very morning, some persons started the helicopter, and they're also asking questions like this, like they say. So I don't know. I don't know actually whether I don't know. I don't know how we do things. Whether it's just like we are catching clues or we are just saying from the depth of our heart. Now, having said this, I maintain that this issue of sit at home on Monday, if you begin to interrogate it very well, and if you want to speak to ourselves, if you want to tell ourselves the truth, we will find out that the aim has been defeated. We will find out that people are no longer sitting at home basically because they are afraid that if they go out to visit on Monday, that anything is going to happen to them. Why am I saying this? I've been able to decode 3 reasons why people still sit at home based on interactions I have had with people. There are some persons who have chosen to stay at home because they can't see intention. And they believe that by staying at home on Mondays, it's in solidarity, that makes them to keep remembering that he's still there. Now, then second set is that people, the people who are into white collar jobs, people who work in the banks, people who work in some other places, they don't go out on Monday because they are afraid of insecurity or afraid of their life. They don't go out because they have become comfortable with having extended weekends. These days they work for 4 days, they enjoy their pay, and they don't want to increase the workload. Then there are people who sit at home just because it has been normalized. Others are sitting at home, and when you ask them why do you sit at home, they'll tell you that after all, let's use every weekend to rest. And let me tell you a report I ran into yesterday. I ran into a report that claimed that since traders stopped trading on Mondays, that they had recorded lesser deaths compared to when they were trading on Monday. So people have advanced different reasons why they sit at home. But like I did tell them, it has become a new normal that people now begin to find it difficult to adjust to government saying that we must get back to what we used to be before August 2021. Now, coming to this very morning, I also discovered one thing. That's why I tell them that when government is resolved to do certain things, there's a point it will get to. You drop your confrontation and think about how you can use dialogue to solve it. What am I saying so? I have seen that this very government is resolved to get businesses resettled on Mondays, whether people want to comply or not. Coming to what is very morning, you see those stadiums and sports where people go to do sports on Monday. Those sports have been taken over by security men. Just go to Tribute Basu Stadium now.
Yeah, I noticed a reduction in even the people running on the road.
No. I think I didn't see that.
Go to Tribute Basu Stadium now. It's been taken over by the security operatives. Most of those sporting places, they have been taken over. So because what government is saying, if you say this is insecurity, so stay at home. There's no need going to stadium to go and congregate and do sports. If you want to do your sports on your own. So where I'm talking about it now is, I think we have to stick to ourselves and stick to our consciences. Ask very hard questions and get the answers. I heard people saying that the markets were closed for 7 days, that they lost businesses. I agree. Businesses were lost. I agree. I quite agree and I sympathize with everybody. But I sat down to do calculation of number of days we lost to sit at home. 210 days. That's what we lost in 4 years, 3 months. Because this thing began August 21, 2021. And they have done the money calculation. 210 days have been lost. And people are saying that what we lost in 7 days is far more. And I was just asking myself, who is in that calculation? So the thing is this, we have come to a point where what we are doing is sustainable, and we cannot continue the way. We have to reset the economy, and then continue to see how we can engage, continue to see how we can mount pressure on, the governors of the southeast, for the school leaders, to see if they can secure political solution for the non-economic further. But business model. So because I've been asking myself, if we don't stop the money sit at home, how long is it going to be? Are we going to sit at home forever, or pending when time comes out?
All right, let's put a call to Ben Moore, like I said earlier, and find out the situation of things in the market. Videos already emerging indicate that there is better compliance. People are actually around the markets opening up. So if you're still at home asking yourself, people already out. That's the key. You need to also leave your home. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Yes. Good morning, Ben.
Yes, I can hear you.
There's some sort of echo coming from your background. Is your
Yes,
radio on? Could you turn it off?
No, I'm away from the.
Okay. Okay. So you are at main market as we speak, right?
Pardon?
Are you at main market?
Yes, currently now at main market from India.
Okay. So speak to us. What is the situation of things? Are shops open?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much, Frankie, Olisa, and Tommy for the good analysis. I've been listening to you for some minutes now. So far, so good. Let me start from the earliest morning. The market the market, the building material has open. People have been doing their business. There is a free flow of traffic, and that of the plastic at all gates for open. That of new auto papers for open. Security personnel are being seen on the road, down to Boromeo, down to DMGS, down to main market here. And from a network of plaza, people have been coming in this morning, opening their shops, getting ready for business. And currently now, I am standing at the Lagos line, the American line, main market Onitsha. And from the background voices, you can equally attest that the traders are very available to their business. Shops are open. Products are being displayed. People are asking prices. Thank you. People are asking prices. And in fact, the business is coming alive once more.
Benjamin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so if you can, we would like to have some interaction with those traders who are available there. Can we have some interactions with them?
Okay, I think I will talk with the vice chairman of this line.
Okay, is he
okay.
available?
Yeah, the vice chairman seems not available, but let me talk with one of the. I'm not aware of it. Okay. Can I talk with you? Some of them are very shy because of English language. Can I talk with you?
Speak in Igbo. They can speak in Igbo.
You can speak in Igbo language, okay? All right. What's your name?
Hello.
Solomon. Solomon? Yes. Okay, you may ask him direct.
All right, Solomon.
More?
Solomon, because shift to go to Bele o kana no ifi na eku.
Okay.
Maka na mkpọtụ erike bafu and imago 19
Hello?
Yeah, Solomon. So, ịpụtala afịa taa, ka obi dị gị ịpụta afịa taa?
Obi dị m oke mana obi dị m oke sa ọ dịkwa ka mana ama ka maka m ga-esi tie ya obi dị m oke sa.
Okay, maka jụọ gị kedu ihe ma iji wesị mụ na courage to come out ịmana ụfọdụ ndị mmadụ na-achụ obi na ama mbịa afịa mana ngwa pụtara afịa apụta kedu ihe nyere gị ka enye courage for you to come out?
Ihe ya reason m ji pụta bụ na maka ịma na a na-asị na a ga-evoku shop onye ọbụla ịghọta so nwere onye ga-achọ ka evoku shop ya ka ọ bịa kwụba ụgwọ bise mepee shop ya so na one of the reasons mana ịdị safe obi onye ọbụla ka nọ n'elu mana maka onwe onye ga-ama ka ihe ga-esi set ya na onwe onye ga-ama ihe ga-ahapụ next.
Mana oge na-abịa And when you fear on the road, like when him and nose up, get concerned.
But again, Uzo the dry.
The police are also.
The one for the police in Uzo.
Guess I this way.
I want action. I can send this security man. I want to follow in Uzo.
Can you sign this?
As inside you say.
Side also market.
Inside the bright. As you say. Side you say. One bright meaning. Well, but again, Lagos line. I know.
All right.
Good.
All right. Can drug it because can drug it because this side the old road. I for police ever hand us Noka Road, my DM just found about and other places. But una bidoga attendance, ekunaga mark attendance. Is there anything like that?
Attendance.
Oh,
I feel no way, and that's a diamond mark attendance. When I reach the side there.
Okay, when they mark when they reach the side again. Ndi line no, ndi potalo no, buturu ibu ko neka hade.
Ndi line ya turn up.
Ndi line on turn up. So nchi go ife na Lagos line na mbia market can go ife na no get lebem.
I get what I need to ebe.
Kema ka line no dey na akụkụ unu because ka na-ekwu Lagos line I can ekwu maka other lines dey close to you.
Ụfọdụ ebe can see no line ya ka wee turn up carry other
All right.
I mean, I was on Chijugi with Solomon before I wear Raposiagi Jazubafia. Ndị na-ego ife a na-abịakwa.
Nwere ndị esi mpụta obodo eji nna ma na-ele ka ụfọdụzi ịkwụ ọnụ ghọta.
Mana ịmana ihe niile ịmalụ na nke a bụ nke izizi na ọ ya take it to time before ndị mmadụ ewee ghọtaba na unu emepego maka na ọ bụ na unu emepero taa ha ama na unu emepego ịghọta.
Yes.
Ka ya lead you discouraged. Ka ịmalụ that na obido otu anụwa every Monday. What ka before the end of this month? Can we market ya lead na azụ normally on Mondays?
Mana even though ma I go keep like next Mondays I go keep security.
Absolutely.
The security I gotta keep I gotta do steady every Monday. My boy have the maintain.
Okay.
Na bia fia na kita onu obi aka no kwanye ni water. Ano just abia ka we can maybe ko ya rebu na apụta si na ego ku shop mmadu or stuff like that.
Okay.
All right. All right. From the reports now, I think from the reports.
Hello, Ben. We have to actually turn off the phone at this point because it's a very rowdy place.
Yeah, it's a rowdy place.
But of course, we've gotten the information we need and we're moving on with it.
And then from the look of things, people are turning up very well. I'm seeing the videos. I don't know. It's actually one of the videos. The people are turning up in their numbers. From the video I'm seeing here, this to tell you that I don't know. It could be initial fear, but it seems to be gradually taken over by time. So let's wait and see.
Okay, so let me say something because this is very important because Tony somehow talked about it, and I'm saying this because as somebody who has been trained in fact checking, when I see things that we are trained, I can decipher based on what I was trained on, based on the tools I can use. Some of us do not have access to those tools to verify certain images and videos. As I'm speaking to you now, there are videos on the internet now circulating, claiming that Onitsha is dry, totally dry.
But it's a lie. I even have a message now from someone who said she has finished shopping already.
Now, I'm looking at the one. I'm looking at the one now. This one has over 70,000 views already.
When was it posted?
This very morning, because he said it's a video of Onitsha.
1 hour ago.
Now,
1 hour ago.
If you see some of these very videos, these videos were videos taken years ago, and they are not being recirculated. So somebody who depends on social media can just look at the videos, look at the video, and think that this is the real situation we have on ground. All right. So what I'm saying in essence is, the videos, most of the videos they are going to see on social media today are not a reflection of the today's situation. Yes, I know that people who make video earlier in the morning had a scanty environment compared to what is obtainable now. Even in anybody's very morning, somebody called me from anybody's very morning saying that they were not going to work bed they observed that the roads were scantier this very morning than it used to be. So what we're saying essentially is this. Many of us will have genuine reasons. We have genuine reasons to, not wanting to come out or not wanting to come out. But what I'm saying is, my reason, if we are going to deny this more, you will see that it's going to do us a better good if we restart. That's what I know. By the time we restart, in 4 months to come, many of us are going to look back and say, thank God we did this.
Exactly.
Mark my word.
Exactly.
By the time we restart, just in 2 months to come, we're going to look back and say, thank God we did this. So people who are watching on social media, while you are watching, while you are consuming, be mindful of your consuming. If you have access to these very tools, if you have access to TinEye, if you have access to Google Image Reverse, you can use these things to verify this very video. It's just some of them we are shocked many years ago, but they are now being recycled so that they continue to inject fear in you to tell you that things are not what it's supposed to be.
All right, then let's take a break now. Attend to some commercials. When we come back, we take a look at the presidential spending on foreign trips, about 34 billion naira on forex in 2 years. Are these trips ending anytime soon, and what are they yielding? Keep it locked to find out.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
Please listen to this important information on your good health. Do you know that many deaths nowadays are caused by ignorance on drug abuse? Do you know that many males and females now resort to the consumption of unhygienic concoctions for the treatment of various diseases? Do you know that some even take their lab results to traditional healers for interpretation? Now listen, abuse of scientific or traditional drug destroys the body system mechanism and it kills. Consumption of expired, adulterated, substandard and unpasteurized traditional herbal mixture could lead to health complications. So detoxification of the body and restoration of the functional organs is always necessary for your good health.
This message is sponsored by Anti-Drug Abuse Incorporated Headquarters, Annex Sunshine Hospital, number 4 Obanye Street, Onitsha, Anambra State, Nigeria. 08033206819.
Drug abuse is an enemy to your good health. Be warned.
Join Anti-Drug Abuse Health Education every Wednesday by 8:45 a.m. on Udala Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Measles and rubella are deadly diseases. They spread fast, can cause blindness, brain damage, miscarriage, and sometimes death.
Every day, Nigerian children are at risk. But there is good news. The saints can protect your child. The Anambra State government will conduct a mass vaccination campaign for children 0 to 14 years from 4th to 15th February 2026 to protect children across the state from deadly diseases. Take your child 9 months to 14 years for the measles rubella vaccine today. Complete all routine immunization doses from birth. After the campaign, routine vaccination continues in all health facilities. Vaccines are safe, effective, and paid for by the government. Don't wait. Visit your nearest health facility or vaccination site. Leave no child behind. This message is brought to you by the Anambra State government and partners.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
And of course, right before we push over to some other things, Tony, you were talking about schools and other institutions like banks been affected by the sit-at-home and how they are complying with the opening order by the governor.
I was actually trying to say that, yes, school, markets are the major focus, because once markets are open, banks will definitely open, because you need the banks for transactions. And then the schools, they're also another area we should be also looking into. I saw some students today. They told me that they were asked to go home by the school authorities, and I asked how and when. They say that they are yet to either do this or open, and for different reasons, because definitely they will be the next. The idea is, with the presence of security we've seen, and then we'll also encourage the security operatives to ensure that schools are safe.
Isn't this where we bring on board the Safe School Initiative?
Definitely. It has not come to that. Remember I said, device and job. The idea of this security presence is going to. But in all of this, all these threats are empty in nation. Trust me, they are empty. They are AI generated to incite fear. And I was talking about propaganda being one of the oldest tools to either cause unrest or to control social order. But the point remains that the schools involved, that's the next line of action. Because the idea is schools should open. Hospitals should also open on Mondays. So we are talking about schools, we are also talking about hospitals. Let's have our economic activities back on track. But while we do that, we are not also forgetting the fact that the pressure for the release of Nnamdi Kanu should also be on. These things must work simultaneously. So the idea of shutting down everything, just it is, for me, I've said it many times, it's insane, it's archaic, it's outdated, and it's not invoked, and it has yielded nothing. I can't keep on repeating this, but what we are saying is this is a burden of psychological disposition of the people. I have categorized those who are into this. There are those who are at home out of fear. There are those who are at home, they will tell you it's a solidarity. There are those who are neuters in the sense that they don't even know where they belong. And for those who are at home for fear, that seems to have been taken care of by the government. And for those who are still into solidarity, I think I have said it many times, with time they will come out of it. But this is not the best solidarity, if you ask me. It's not the best, because it is a punishment given unto yourself. It's just like somebody who is on hunger strike. And when you're on that hunger strike, nobody, the person you are pushing the strike on, is not even looking at you. And if you continue to be on that hunger strike, what happens to you? You develop problems, you develop complications, you develop ailments, you develop a lot of things, and it serves you nothing. So you remember that man one way beribe. Let me put it that way. But there are other ways to bring attention of those concerns to your case, to your plight. You can't just say, I'm going to go on hunger strike for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you have developed complications, you are quachokod, you can't even walk properly, and you say until you die. For me, if you die, that is all we believe in. I've said it many times.
Okay then, let's take a look at this report by On the Punch newspaper rather. The headline is Travels, Presidency spends 34 billion on Forex in 2 years. And of course, this is because the president has been on several international trips, and of course over the period of 4 years, the quoted figure, according to a data compiled by GovSpend, that is what has been spent. The records, which cover transactions by the State House Presidential Air Fleet, the Office of the Chief of Staff and Operations linked to the President, Vice President, the First Lady, the raids show a sharp swing in spending patterns between 2024 and 2025. And also, this is as the Labour Party candidate in the 2023 election, former Anambra State Governor Mr. Peter Obi on Twitter also yesterday, now X, by the way, yesterday, decrying the fact that in the month of January alone, the president spent 23 days out of the 31 days in a month outside of the country, and how that month is very important, in shaping what the year is going to be like for the country. And so, Tony, let's look at these foreign trips, what they cost Nigeria and what they benefit Nigeria.
We've looked into this the other time, and we say that, yes, there have been a lot of bilateral agreements, a memorandum of understanding, and other things we have in place. And we had those things during the time of Buhari, and I must let you know that none of these comes to fruition. I can't just say if any. And we have some of these things under different regimes. We are busy chasing investors. Capital does not need to be chased. I've said it many times. Capitals hovers around and get itself where it feels
It's suitable.
it's suitable. You don't chase capital. You don't chase it. If you make your environment very conducive,
Investment worthy.
definitely capital will locate you. We're seeing people with their money going to places asking for this, asking for that. The point is that the role government must play essentially is to provide that conducive environment. And now we are talking about security. Security. Yesterday, to interest you, I was actually asking myself this question. Turkey, yeah, Mr. President was in Turkey, and I asked myself one very critical question. Turkey has border with 8 countries, from the east to west, from the west to south, in front and asked. They have border with Iraq, they have border with Iran, they also have border with Syria, they have border with Azerbaijan, they have border with Armenia, they have borders with Georgia, they have border with Bulgaria, they have borders with Greece, they have border with some of these countries, about 8 of them in number. So how did they try to protect themselves? Because Turkey is one of the most industrialized countries in the world, one of the most safest in the world. But look at the countries they share border with. They are either war-torn, crisis, conflict, and everything. I asked myself, what did Turkey do? What did they do to secure themselves? I understand that they have done quite a lot. In fact, I was told that they have invested heavily in a number of things. So you find out, I was listening to our Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, yesterday. He was brief about some of the things Turkey has done as a country to fortify itself. He was saying that they have thermal cameras, they have surveillance days, they have fencing with some of these countries. They build a fence across Iraqi border, they build fence along Iranian border. But there were places they did not build fence. But you know what they did? They have border patrol system. Border patrol system. They dug trenches. These trenches in such, and you wouldn't know that these are trenches. So if the enemy comes in there, you will be drawn by the trenches they built. That is what. You know they have ground sensor. Turkey, they have ground sensor. Once you come into their land, the sensor will gravitate that somebody has come over. They have ground sensor. Apart from thermal cameras, they have got so many things. Here, we are just bordered with Niger Republic 1. Yes, that country, for me, is crisis torn. And we have about 1,500 square kilometers when it comes to our border. I think the border stretches about 1,500 square kilometers. That is one. We also have border with Chad, which is not as long as that of Niger Republic. We also have a very large border with Cameroon, about close to 2,000 square kilometers. That's the stretch of the border. But in all of this, what have we done to strengthen or fortify these areas? Because if your borders are porous, you are not safe. If your borders are not secure, you are not safe. You can't just pride yourself and say you are this or you are that. You cannot. And that's why you cannot even control a lot of things. There are so many things that will be going out of your grip, going out of your control. We are talking about small arms and light weapons, proliferations. Are you going to talk about that? We are talking about issue of drug. These things are there because we cannot manage our borders. We have invested heavily in the area of defense, but how many of these have come to the area of border control, border patrol, and so many other things? Do we have thermal camera as a country? Do we have ground sensor as a country? Do we have trenches as we have seen around the Turkish borders with so many other countries? So I have said it many times that we are far off from being safe. And it's not about going to chase these investors to come to the country to invest where the critical things have been left undone. You think they're not seeing all those things? You think they don't have embassies, high commissions in the country? They don't have people there reporting how good this thing will be. no investor would go into area where he thinks that he will not have a return on his investment. It is critical, and they monitor those things. And once they see opportunity, they don't need to be chased, they don't need to be pulled, they don't need to be in any way harangued. So it is there. I have said it many times, we are far off. If you look at broad myths of some of the people that would have threatened Turkey, ISIS, the Syrian PKK, you can talk about so many of them, but the truth remains that they have been in every essence, they have shown that they can protect themselves against the Kurdistans, against so many of these forces, ISIS, and so many of them. Are we learning from those people? Are we learning? So it is important that the country does what it should do, not junketing around the country. The money spent, Mr. President, traveling around the country, how many billion? You talk about 22 billion or thereabouts. I don't know. If we have invested half of that money in trying to strengthen our border to provide security for Nigerians, it would have gone a long way.
Okay, let me add, because when we do this, we also learn from some other African countries who were in the same category with. If you look at the investment portfolio in 2024, of course, Egypt recorded the highest for foreign investment in Africa, where it peaked about 46.6 billion in FDI deals. That was 2024. Look at Ethiopia, look at Cote d'Ivoire, look at Mozambique, look at Uganda, and then you begin to ask yourself, how many of these countries we are frequenting foreign countries for them to be able to, bring in their investment. If you're looking at investment, just moving from one place to the other without first of all fixing the power, of course, when investment comes, what are they going to do then? So the issue about Nigeria and going outside to the investment is, looking inwards and doing the whole work. At least the corruption, because the folks are even about business. I consider that when people are looking for business, they look at how laws are respected in certain countries, because they know that in the course of doing business, there might be one dispute or the other. So if I have the dispute in my business, am I sure of getting justice in the country justice system? So if we have all these problems here and there, issue of corruption, a lack of justice, we don't have power, even being respected they have, and then you go about telling them how good your country is. So when they come back to the business, they're going to invest. So I think we should pay more attention to how to build the country from inward, rather than doing that thinking that they're going to do magic and bring those people to come in and invest when the environment is not appetite for them to invest.
Right then, let's also take a look at one more issue on our desk today before we round off conversations today. Tony, you mentioned that interview with the Minister of Defense yesterday, and of course the things that he did say concerning the alignment Nigeria is currently making with Turkey. He talked about the bilateral agreement that was signed to sort of bring down production of certain defense materials that we need here in Nigeria to help us also grow in that aspect. I've been trying to figure out how we're going to go about it, not because it's undoable, but are the powers that be, the ones who've been in charge of contracts of procurement, are they going to let this see the light of day, or is it going to be another waste in the whole thing? Also, he made mention of he explained sort of why there was an initial denial of that coup attempt. He also did say that he was marked for elimination, and said a lot of things concerning the investigation system, and how it is safer to deny that it happened than to accept that it happened and then come out to also say, oh, it didn't happen, and also why it's important that there was that denial to make sure that innocent people are not caught in the crossfire. And I've been asking myself, is there a rationale behind that denial and that reason that he gave, Tony? Do you buy it?
I think the only thing that sounds tenable is when he said that if they had come out to say it was a coup, it would have prevented them from making other arrests, that they were chasing the coup plotters, that they have not got many of them. They have just arrested some dozens. They were still hunting others. So if they blow it out, those who they were hunting could be on the run and they may not have many. That's what the reason he gave. And then he said that in their profession. You don't just come out and say that this is this until the proper investigations must have been conducted. But that's what they say, that they were actually going after these people as a result of other things they said it. But for me, I thought that yes, just as a military, once queues are rumored, you can't plan queues in a day. It takes time. Let me say this. Probably this thing may have started long before now.
Yeah, you noted I started since 2023, the plans.
The plans, it may have started very long. So in all of this, they said that they have been monitoring the situation. They knew some of these things. For me, denial wasn't, you don't deny and come to accept. It's better you make no comment. And we keep saying, at the appropriate time, we are going to speak about this. How about that? The idea is we must prioritize institutional reputation. If there are things that will make you not to speak, if there are things that will prevent, or if you speak, it's going to be counterproductive. Why don't you avoid speaking against lying? Because if you come out and say or deny there was any kill, you are lying. It doesn't add to your reputation as an institution. Rather, you avoid speaking and maintain that at the appropriate time, you will hear from us. Over time, and there will be pressure, there will be speculation, at the appropriate time, you will hear from us. You say nothing, because whatever you say could be counterproductive as against lies. So we should imbibe that practice. That is one. And secondly, you also talked about him being mapped to elimination. Definitely, if you are looking at Q is do or die. Because if these people succeed, they will form a government and you will see people cheering them and they will appoint people into positions. That's one thing about Q. But if they fail, remember the consequence. The consequence is usually that is non-negotiable. Many of them I know, they must have known this before getting into it. So in all of this, I've said it many times, we'll talk about the arrangement and engagement we have with Turkey. Turkey is one of the countries that produced unmanned area vehicles, UAVs, and I know very well that there is this particular one, Bayraktar TB2. How many unmanned area vehicles do we have in Nigeria deployed to our border areas? These unmanned area vehicles, they are just like drones, capable from the control room. They are used for surveillance and also used to fight terrorism. They are majorly deployed in anti-terrorism campaigns. How many of these do we have? Or do we have a situation whereby the Turkish, they will come here and start producing some of these things? If we have raw materials, we can also help them. We have military industry. I don't know if that industry is still functioning, because they are meant to manufacture weapons and armaments. I don't know how Nigeria does its own. So I'm also aware that there are so many weapons. Turkey is one of the countries in the world that produce sophisticated military weapons. They didn't come just like that. We are unrated as at 2015. Just 10 years. They are now rated. You ask yourself, what has changed? What has changed? In the last 10 years, they were unrated. But now you can see what they can do within the space of 10 years. So it takes investment. A lot.
What has changed and who has brought about the change? I think that's another important part of the conversation that we are not having. It takes Turkians to the people of Turkey, right? I don't know what Turkish people. No, that's the word. It takes these Turkish people to decide what they want for themselves and how to go about it. The question is, why do we keep wanting a better Nigeria only in paper? I mean, this is a rhetoric. The average Nigerian, the politician, the citizen, the one who lets his vote be bought, should start to ask him or herself this very important question. But right before we open up the phone lines, we go on that commercial and open up the phone lines, he talked about how the government is doing everything possible to fortify the country against insecurity. Well, here we are, about 17 years into the fight against insurgency. There was another attack in Niger State. Government killed a person, set a church ablaze, and the police station ablaze. In a particular, the Angwara community, that's where it happened. And this is a place that has been under fire for quite some time by these insurgents. And the question is, why does it keep happening? Why are we still reactive to this, the way these men go about the operations? I use Angwara for instance. They've been on the news for some time because of insurgent attacks, banditry. Why don't we have a strong security point in these volatile areas? Why?
I think if you ask why, it will always remain why with unending answer. We do not know our priorities as a country. We don't even know what we want. Everybody's interested to clinch to power. Everybody wants power, political power. I want to be president. I want to be vice president. What is our target? In fact, we are just talking about Turkey. Why we are still keep repeating Turkey? Because Mr. President was there. And possibly we asked some of the things he saw in Turkey, how many of them would he come back here and implement? And let me also say this, it's important that Turkey for sure makes money by producing, by processing, by moving, and also selling. Their revenue base is broad and diversified. Turkey does not rely on a single export or sector. Rather, it earns foreign exchange from a mix of manufacturing, services, natural endowments, strategic industries. In fact, they are the biggest revenue earner in manufactured goods across Europe. I don't know if they have taken over from Germany, because it's a major industrial hub linking Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. In fact, it exports large volumes of automobiles. In fact, the shirt I'm wearing, somebody has reminded me, Tony Lisabeki, you're wearing, how they call it, Turkish, or you're wearing Turkey. That kind of, So if you go to that Lagos line and ask them, I want to buy Turkey shirts, I want to buy Turkey jean, that is how they are rated. Because for you to say you want to buy a Turkey this, Turkey that, you are going for high standard. So I tell you something, that there is nothing they don't produce. Drugs, in agriculture, you want to talk about in the area of manufacturing, building, everything you can think of. That is what the country is into. They fixed their energy crisis, they fixed their energy problem, they provided an environment, invested in the area of security, fortified the country. Investors are coming for them everywhere in the world. I'm telling you, despite the fact they share border with so many countries that are war-torn, poverty-stricken, so many things, but they were able to ensure that there is no movement. I'm also aware they have motion detectors. They planted motion detectors along their borders with some of these countries. So once there is any movement, it is detected. You can imagine how they deploy technology to warn off some of these things. So we can go on and talk about this country. Mr. President was there. He signed so many MOUs with them. How many of the things he saw in Turkey will he be able to bring back home here? We have seen endless journeys where some of these things will be appreciated in some of these countries, but down here, we cannot even do single one. I want to ask Nigeria, what has changed in this country from 2015 down to 2025? Have we made any move, any big move in anything, in any sector? We are talking about Turkey. Anywhere. We are just interested in political power.
All right.
That's just what we are interested in. So we keep asking the question, what do we want as a people? Where are we headed? Even with all the natural deposits, endowments we have here, has it taken Nigeria out of the poverty belt? How many people are sinking into poverty on a daily basis? You keep asking that questions.
And the reality keeps setting in. The answers are very vivid. The big question is, how do we go about bringing the change that we truly desire? And of course, are we doing what we should to bring about this change? Let's take a break now, attend to some commercials. When we come back, we open up the phone lines to stay.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Ọrịa arụbara na ọrịa osinikuku akpọrọ rubella bụ ọrịa ogbu na nwayọ. Ha bụ ndị nke na-agbasa ngwa ngwa ma bụrụ nke na-akpa